I don't have anything groundbreaking to do today, but I have a couple of things I got to knock off the list for on 311. I got to put on the Sissy bar, the factory Sissy bar. I need to, I'm going to try to put on the new shifter lever I've got, the heel to toe shifter. So I've got to do that, and if we get time, I may even get into the front motor mounts. I need to do those. Their time is up. So that's what's on the itinerary now. So I'm gonna get the bike pulled out, get the jack underneath it, get it jacked up, get it straight, and we can get started on getting that Sissy bar on there, and hopefully we don't scratch the brand new paint. So I think the best way to go about this is to disassemble the Sissy bar completely, or the backrest. That way we can just get the brackets individually and do one side at a time. So let's go ahead and remove these. If you ever mess with one of these factory Super X Sissy bars, it's 3/16 Allen wrench. Let's grab something to put this hardware in. I'm terrible about losing hardware. Just one side off. Easy enough. Just 4 screws on either side, and that's what holds it all together. And these are the brackets we're going to need first. Something I didn't think about, we're going to have to remove the bags. So let's grab some tools. We are going to need a 1/2" wrench. If you've never removed the factory saddlebags on these bikes, typically there'll be a 1/2" nut on the inside of these studs. I have a couple of washers on here to kind of take up some threads. Just pull those off. Really easy to remove, then it exposes your studs. We'll do the same thing on this side. This side usually gives me a little bit of trouble. There. Now, once the saddlebags are off, to remove these studs, we're going to need a bigger wrench. Let's try a 9/16. Perfect. So make note of that. So if you don't have a factory Sissy bar, there's a little black spacer that runs inside here. We have to remove this spacer in order to get the Sissy bar bracket down in there. Just enough to give us some space to pull that spacer out. We're going to need a little bit more. Might have to remove one completely. I think that's what we'll do. And back this one out just a little bit more, because as you pull these studs out, this bracket pulls out, giving you space to pull the spacer out. And that's what that looks like. It just sits down in there. This is where our Sissy bar bracket is going to slide in now. And then just taking care that it's seated all the way, we can tighten it down. Now we'll do the same thing on the other side. That one dropped out the bottom, no problem. and we didn't scratch the paint. That's excellent. So something we did on the other side that I don't think we'll do this time is I'm going to go ahead and thread this in first. And then once that's threaded in, you can slide your bracket in and then tighten it up. That worked out much easier. Not exactly sure why, but we're running out of threads on this one, so let's pull this guy back out and see what's going on here. Something I've noticed, this side has washers, the other side did not. I think we might move the washers to the inside. Now we're cooking. Let's see if she'll tighten up now. So after much struggle, I think what has happened at some point in this bike's life, one of these studs may have been over tightened and broke off in there. I'm not 100% sure of that. You should be able to look through, see through, and I can't. So what we're going to do is we're going to add just a bit of spacing to these, and that's why this side actually had the spacers on there in the get-go. This is a little bit thinner material than the black spacer that's in there. I think just adding a little bit of washer in there is going to be our fix. I kept the outer washers just like they were before, and then I've added 2 on the inside. Hopefully this will allow us to get in and get it tight. I just need to grab something to push those washers out with. We use this little angled guy right here to slide down in here and push those washers back so we get room to slide our Sissy bar bracket in there. Back that out just a touch. There we go. Excellent. Now we should be able to tighten them up, and it should take care of all of our problems. Now I don't think you will have this problem on your bike, but over the last 20-something years, 26 years I guess it is now, they've gone through hands and accidents happen. That's perfect. Good and sturdy. But like I was saying, over the last 26 years, you know, things happen. And so we just have to make some little cures sometime in order to be able to get things back in place the way they should be. So to go over that one more time, this side had spacers on the outside, and then on the inside I added 2 more washers on both sides just to give it just enough space. That way there was enough thread to tighten everything down. So we should be able to slide our Sissy bar down, and then the luggage rack will, well, if you put it on there right, luggage rack should be able to slide in just like so. Excellent. See if we can't get this lined up. And that's what I thought. So this should be able to rest, to get the first screw started, should be able to rest this back a bit, because we're going to have to lift up to line the screws up. Just like so. And once they're started, we'll go to the other side and do the same thing. I'm going to tighten one side down just enough to hold it in place. Then we can put our other screws in. I'm going to go ahead and tighten this side down all the way. We got the Sissy bar mounted up. luggage rack, brackets, everything's tight, everything's very secure. Very heavy duty rack that they did on these bikes. Everything really on these bikes are overbuilt now that all the updates are done, but even from the factory, these are really heavy duty, and I can appreciate that. Same thing on the other side. We haven't done a lot of talking about this bike on the channel. This is a very unique bike. It was the 18th bike off the assembly line in '99. It was built for the demo fleet, and it was built specifically for Daytona Bike Week 1999. This one was named Soldier, so if you remove the tank, right underneath the tank on the frame is the name, and this one's Soldier. So this bike has a lot of rich history, and I plan to do a full walk around video of this bike specifically. That way more of the history on this bike can be documented. But my plan for this bike is to just keep it all original. My grandpa bought it in 2004 or 2006, I think 2004, from one of the previous Excelsior-Henderson executive members. But my goal on this bike is to keep it all original. It's Raven Black. That's how it was. I did take it to Mike's at Valhalla Motor Works, and he did basically a little resto on the bike. It just needed some updating. It got repainted and everything else. But as far as the seats go, the saddlebags, the Sissy bar, I've got the factory windshield. All of that's all factory. Everything is factory, other than these floorboards on the back, these highway bars on the front, and the Eagle Light LEDs up there on the front. Everything else is factory, and I plan to keep it that way. I want one bike that's all original, the way it would have come in 1999, just with a couple more modern updates as far as the headlights go, and then a luxury of having a nice mini floorboard for the rear passenger. But everything else is completely original, and in the way it would have come factory, and that's the way I want to keep this bike. So something I mentioned in the beginning of the video is I wanted to put I stripped the old heel-to-toe shifter out, which is very common on these bikes, and I did. I wanted to put the brand new one I have on. However, I don't think I have a screw, and the new lever did not come with a screw. So I'm going to take a moment now to go dig through my spare parts, see if I can find a screw that's going to work, and that way we can move on to doing the heel-to-toe shifters. Well, I figured I'd just take you along for the ride. That way we can look at some of my spare parts here and see what's going to fit. So here's our brand new shift lever. Now I just have to find a screw, and I'm afraid it does not look like I'm going to have one that's going to work. That one's not going to work because it has a washer. Helps to have the right size tool. So that is not a lot of clamping force. I really don't like that. I'm going to see if I have anything else that's going to work. That thread pattern looks to be right. This is not an Excelsior part, and if you know me, I am not one to mismatch parts, but I think this is going to work. I think it will. Let's get these out of the way. It's much longer, but if I can get it on the side that points down towards the ground, it really won't be a big deal. You'll never see it. And then whenever I can get the factory part, it'll work. Let's take our parts over to the bike and see what we're gonna see if this is gonna work for us. It looks like if we use our new shifter lever, we put it in this direction, we'll have to go this route, which the top of the screw would show. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to rob the screw out of this one, replace it in that way the longer screw is pointing down. Now we'll use our new longer screw. If you don't get these as tight as possible in here, then it can make quite a racket. So I'm pushing against the back side of this, that way I can get as much slack out of here as possible. Now we should be good to go ahead and just tighten this while we're holding all that tight with our pry bar. Should be able to screw this one down. That's really good, actually. I'm pretty happy with that. Now it looks like before we go too far, we're going to have to thread this guy in. All I'm doing is I've got my 3/16 Allen key T-handle, and I'm just tightening this boot up to this new handle. Do our height right. We can go down a bit on this one. Now what we'll have to do is go from the bottom up with our new screw that we took out of the other side. It's really important to make sure that this goes in straight. Wow. A job that should have been very simple ended up turning into much gnashing and wailing of teeth. But it is done. These are a very cheap material, very easy to strip out, both that and the hardware. Get all my fingerprints wiped off now. It's on there and it's good, and it's as tight as it's going to get, but that is not ideal. This is a not ideal part. This whole spot on the Super X is a pretty weak design, unfortunately, but it's done now and we can move on to the next thing. Next thing on the list is to install the factory windshield brackets. They go just like so. So I'm just going to get that one started and then move on to the bottom one down here. This is really not a hard task, but in case you've never done it before, I just figured while I do it, I'll bring you folks along with me. Just like we did on the other side. Once you have your windshield, you'll have several different slots to mount on, depending on how high you want the windshield. Obviously, if you go too far down, you're going to make contact with your headlight. So that's as low as it'll go right here. But for me, I'm not going to have the windshield on there. I like to have the windshield off. Maybe as we get closer to winter time and the fall and whatnot, we'll add the windshield later. All right, y'all. We got the backrest back on. We got the heel-to-toe shifter on now. We got the windshield brackets on. We got everything we've done, well, everything we needed to get done except for the motor mounts. We've run out of time for now. That'll be a later video. There's a lot of videos on YouTube from Automotive Villainy, Grandpa Grumpy Pants. There's a lot of different videos on how to change the motor mount. So I don't know if we're going to do a how-to. It might just be a rambling video while I do it. We'll see what we do about that. I might not even film it. Like I said, that's all I got for you today. Just a couple simple little add-ons, some things getting the factory parts back on. So we'll continue to document as we go and give you some material to watch. And I appreciate you tuning in.